Well, welcome to the last video in our series based on Bud Fuchs's book, Without a Passport. And this has been all about how we can be missionaries right here at home, how we can reach people who are from other cultures. Maybe they are refugees, maybe they're visiting, maybe they're a student studying or working with us. And we can be a light to those people, the mission field that has come to us. So in this video, we kind of want to tie everything together. We talked about a mindset, we talked about some practical things you or your church community can do, and this is going to bring all that together. And kind of the first final takeaway point here is that we have to have a kingdom mindset if we're going to reach internationals in our midst. And what do you mean by that, Bud?
Well, to have a kingdom mindset, we have to have the perspective that it's not about us. Mm-hmm. It's about how we can work together in the kingdom. And also understanding that God is out on mission, mm-hmm. and He's at work all over the world. And he's drawing people to himself, and he wants to include us in the work that he's doing. Mm-hmm. And so we have to keep that in mind. To have a kingdom mindset, it means that we work together. Mm-hmm. There's synergy involved in working together with other believers. When I was in Edmonton, Alberta, a pastor in Edmonton, Alberta, we started our conversational English classes with reaching out to international students, immigrants, refugees. We had all that would come to our events, and we had a number of churches that heard about what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And so they were interested in what we were doing, and we said, they said, could we come and observe? And I said, yeah, of course. And we had a lead pastor that had a real kingdom mindset, said, hey, it's not about us. We want to share whatever we have within our community. And so we would train other churches on how to do this. And God began to open those doors and multiply. Churches throughout the whole Edmonton area began having these English conversation classes, reaching out to internationals. We saw countless, I can't put the number on it, but many internationals come to Christ mm-hmm. in that, because we were willing to say, yeah, come in, we'll train you, and then do this in your own church. So God uses that in miraculous ways.
Yeah, and that's really cool too. I know that we didn't talk about it in earlier videos, but one awesome thing is, and you talk about it in your book though, is that when these people go back to their own home countries, mm-hmm. they then become the missionaries. And when you have set that example of working together and saying it's not about my church or me personally, it's right. about all of us, right. that is a fantastic example for them to take back to whatever country they came from.
For sure, yeah. For sure, that's so important.
Yeah. So what's kind of the next point here in kind of concluding all of this?
Well, we need to reach out. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about this, that it's kind of a given, but the example that we have in reaching cross-culturally is Jesus. Mm-hmm. In John chapter 4, he could have bypassed Samaria, mm-hmm. But he chose to reach out to this, to go right straight through Samaria mm-hmm. and reach out to this woman, mm-hmm. crossing many cultural barriers of one, going through Samaria, but also reaching out to a woman, and then a woman who didn't have a good reputation. Mm-hmm. And so he had a burden for reaching into another culture, and he gives us a great example of doing that in John chapter 4. Some of the things that we can learn in reaching out to others is asking good questions. Mm-hmm. And there's a number of places in the book that you can refer to where you can ask good questions. Mm-hmm. But when you ask good questions of people, and especially concerning about their family, because mm-hmm. most internationals want to talk about their family yeah. because they miss them and they love them, and so and who doesn't want to talk about family? Sure. But we can ask them good questions about their family. We can also ask them good questions about their faith, mm-hmm. and not be intrusive or in a awkward. But there are questions that we can ask, and you can find that also in the book, mm-hmm. Of how to ask good questions. But then listen well. Listen to what they say. and take mental notes or maybe jot it down later of what they've said so that you can continue on in this relationship and develop the relationship in ways that would be more effective.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So what's the next kind of 3 or 4 of our final concluding points here?
Well, another way that when you develop this relationship is you can tell your story.
Mm.
It's so important to be able to effectively, we often call it our testimony, but learning to tell your story effectively is very important. Before you came to Christ, mm-hmm. how you came to Christ, and then now that you have Christ in you, how He is involved in your life and how He becomes your life. So this is an important thing for you to be able to do, and you can share that with an international, and they want to hear your mm-hmm. story. If you've built a relationship, yeah. they want to know your story. So we talk about that in the book also, on ways that you can more effectively do your story, so that it not like you want to be hours long with your story, but effectively tell your story so that they can understand what it means to have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
And so much of that is based on having a long-term reputation of integrity.
That's right.
It's not just about making people think that you care about them.
Right.
It's actually caring about them.
It
just like Jesus at the well with the woman.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So what's kind of our last kind of point of synergy here in bringing all this home?
Well, God sends not just people who don't know Jesus mm-hmm. to us, but He also sends believers. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how many Christians there are that come our way, that God sends our way, who are internationals, and they need to be encouraged in their faith. Mm-hmm. They need to be mentored in how to continue to walk with Him. It's difficult living in another culture. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of temptations, especially with international students, to fall into the pattern of our university, college mm-hmm. lifestyle, which can be very worldly. On campuses, and so we need to encourage them and mentor them in the faith. There's ways that we can do that. You can have one-on-one Bible studies. You can have group Bible studies. You can look at various opportunities to have events that they can help you reach out to their fellow students mm-hmm. or fellow immigrants, refugees. We have an event that we do called ICF, International Christian Fellowship. They organize it, they run it, and it's a night where we have a potluck, and then we sing songs, and someone shares their testimony, and it's a great evening. It's their favorite evening of the month. We do it once a month, but some groups do it more. But we've done it once a month, and they just find it a time of real refreshing mm-hmm. because there's so many things that they have in common with other internationals. Even though they're from various parts of the world, coming here, they have a lot of commonality right. together because they're in a struggle, cross-cultural, mm-hmm. culture shock, all that's involved. Yeah.
Yeah. So even going back to what we were saying earlier, it's about us setting a good example for these people, mm-hmm. Whether they come to faith because of our ministry or whether they're helping us in the ministry because they already follow Christ. But it's about them going home and they're keeping this thing going. And that's why it's not about us and why it's God's mission.
That's right. That's right. We really want to encourage them in their faith. Not all of them return home. There are many that will immigrate and stay in North America. But the majority do go home, and we want to help them and prepare them to effectively be disciple makers back home.
Amen.
And that's really our goal in seeing that. But what's also interesting is that even if they don't move back home, they still have immediate contact. I talk to international students on a regular basis who say they speak to their families every day, because we have the media now in our world with the internet. They're speaking to their families every day, and so there's opportunities that they have on a daily basis to communicate with their friends and family back home about their faith, about their life in Christ. So it's not just about them going back, because we have this internet world that we live in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. God has really just blessed us tremendously with this great opportunity to reach people that in the past we all wanted to go there and we wanted to send people there, and now they're here with us.
Yes.
So Bud's book, Without a Passport, was edited by me, written by Bud, and this is available on Amazon.com. This is going to be a fantastic resource for you if you have a heart or a desire to start a ministry or to reach people and you don't know how. This is going to be great, and we hope that this series has been a blessing to you, and go out and do the work of the Lord in reaching the lost for Him.